Welcome back, everyone. So, today we're going to be talking about part two of work, and we're going to be talking about my seasoned working professionals who have been working in their field and they have decided that they want to make a change, right? And then we're going to talk a little bit about that glass ceiling where I have been trying to advance and it doesn't seem like anything that I'm doing is working. So, the first thing I want to talk about is my seasoned professional who comes in and they say, I am tired. I am burnt out. I do not want to do what I've been doing. Typically, this happens around the space when you're in your mid to late 30s, possibly in your early 40s. You have made good strides in your field that you're working in, but it's kind of routine. You're tired of doing the same thing day in and day out, and you just don't find joy in the work that you're doing anymore. And so, what I have noticed is that you start to not want to go to work. It's harder to get up. You start getting that Sunday blues that everyone is talking about on Sunday. Just thinking about going into work makes you feel down. Doing your day-to-day tasks are no longer fun, even when you have a special project or if the team gets a win or if even if you get an accolade at work, there's just no joy in what it is that you're doing. And so you kind of look up and you're just like, is this it? This cannot be what I'm going to be doing for the next 15 or 20 years before I retire. And so that discontentment leads people into starting to thinking about, well, what do I want to do next? If you have been afforded the opportunity to work in a role where you've made a lot of money, sometimes people will make the decision to go back to school and pursue a quote unquote passion, something that does not make a lot of money, but they find a lot of joy in it. I've found people do that. Sometimes people will go back to school and do a totally different career where, their parents or their family was in this particular type of industry and now they want to pursue a passion or a dream that they had of an industry that they thought that they wanted to do. So sometimes people will do that and we will explore options from that perspective. Sometimes people will come in and we will discuss entrepreneurship. They may say, well, I want to start a business, or I think that I would be good at doing this, or I want to partner with a group of friends and start a business. And we will start exploring what that looks like and do a countdown and a timeline from that perspective. As we are doing those things and they're shifting their careers focus, we're looking at the skill set that they have. We're looking at how those skills will be transferable. We're looking at what skills they need to gain or what other people they need to bring in to their team so that they can connect with them to be successful in that arena. This is not something that we like for people to do rashly or impulsively. And sometimes that will happen if you don't understand what's going on. People will walk in and just quit their job one day because they just can't take it anymore. And it's basically just recognizing that the time for that career focus has shifted and it's trying to transition to something new. So always gauge yourself. I like to do year end reviews with my clients and I like to explore how they're feeling about their career. I like to explore their career focus and say, where are you? How are you feeling about this? What's going right? What's going wrong? What could be better? How long do you see yourself doing what it is that you're doing? Is this the career path that you feel like you want to be on? Is this the path or direction that you want your career to be in? Because sometimes you will go and take a promotion thinking it's going to put you in one pathway, and you wind up in a completely different department doing something that you never thought that you would do. And so, yeah, maybe that is good for a year or two, but do you really want to stay in this role to see what's going to happen, or do you want to get back to what you were doing before? And so just really taking that time to evaluate your career, and see where you're going in that perspective. Don't let your career, quote unquote, happen to you. Sometimes people get complacent. Sometimes they're just in their job and they're just doing their day in, day out, and they're not really centrally focused in on what direction the job is going to take. And that can lead you into discontentment as well, because you're just like, well, I don't understand how I'm still doing the same thing and everybody else has left or is moving, but you've never talked to anybody. You've never been focused in on what the direction your goal is going to be or what the next level is going to be for you. And so really taking some time to figure out what your career directory. And I hope that if you don't take anything else out of this, my seasoned work professionals, is have a plan. Don't wake up one day and be miserable and not know what you want to do next. Have a focused plan on what the next step of your job is going to be, so that when it's time to move on, you're confident that you have what you need to be able to move on. Whether it be a new career, whether it be moving to a different role, whether it is trying something different, going back to school, getting a different skill set, or just trying out entrepreneurship. Whatever it is that you feel like you want to do, make sure you have set yourself up to be in line to do it when you're ready to do it. The other part of this segment that I wanted to talk about is the invisible wall, that ceiling, that we seem to bump our heads against when we're working, oftentimes in the corporate space. I believe that a lot of people always have the vision of being a leader, being a manager, supervisor, C-suite executive, CEO, COO, CFO, whatever the terminology that resonates in your field of work, but basically, in essence, being the boss, right? Everybody is not equipped to be the boss. Everybody can't be the boss. And some people don't want to be the boss, but there are a large number of people who do aspire to be in leadership roles. And there are different ways to get to leadership, right? Oftentimes, when you're in certain fields, they'll say that we can put you on a leadership track where you are being groomed for leadership. You take the classes, you take the trainings, you get all of the certifications. You always have that goal on your performance evaluation that you want to be in line for leadership. You want to be considered for leadership and things from that perspective. And sometimes you get bosses who cultivate that for you and craft it for you. And a couple of people do wind up being able to be a leader from that perspective. There are people who know people in leadership, right? And they're groomed from leadership from that perspective. I know you, you know me. I'm going to show you how to get a leadership role in this company. That is one of the ways that you can be in leadership. And then there are other individuals who I feel like seem to always wind up on the hamster wheel of leadership, where they say, I am going to prove to them that I am worthy of being a leader. So I'm going to show up early. I am going to leave late. I am going to go above and beyond. I am going to take on special projects. I am going to volunteer to cover other people. When the boss is gone, I'm going to do extra, and I am going to do all of these things to show them I have leadership qualities, right? And this person is being told, kudos, you're doing an amazing job. Thank you for doing this. May or may not receive compensation or performance evaluations that report that they're exceeding and doing above and beyond, right? But for some reason, that person doesn't necessarily get, they don't get elevated to leadership roles. They're not promoted in the same manner that other people are promoted, or they're passed by, or they're told, well, the reason why you didn't get promoted this year was because you didn't have X, Y, and Z. Okay, so then the next year they get X, Y, and Z, in addition to doing above and beyond, volunteering, doing all of these things and sacrificing. I've even been told that people have said, I didn't take vacation time because I didn't feel like something was going to get done. So I didn't take vacation so that the team would be okay, and still didn't get promoted, right? And then I am told, well, it's not in the budget for you to be promoted to a leader this year, so maybe next year you would be. And so this happens year after year after year after year. And sometimes it happens in one department, or the person gets frustrated and then transfers into another department and hopes that they will be valued and seen as a person that has that leadership ability in the other department. So they go to the other department and they're doing the same thing. They're volunteering, they're doing above beyond, they're going in late, going in early, staying late, doing extra, all of the things, right? Showing that they are a team player and that they have these leadership qualities and capabilities. And then the same thing happens again. Well, you didn't have this. You didn't do this. You haven't been in this department long enough to qualify to be a leader. Well, it's not in the budget this year for you to get elevated. So maybe next year we'll revisit it at a different time. And you get on this cycle, or you get on this treadmill of trying to prove that you deserve to be a leader, and you're bumping your head against the ceiling going, what is going on? How is it that I am not able to get this leadership role, and I'm doing all of these things? I'm going to introduce a new term in this segment, and I call this a Tamikaism. Tamikaism is something that I have coined based on my 27 years of being a clinician. And a Tamikaism is something that I feel like is valid, but she has not done any peer review, journal articles, or any research. So that is why we're calling this a Tamikaism. The Tamikaism for this dilemma is that this individual has made themselves invaluable to the team, but they have made themselves invaluable to the team as a worker and not a leader. So if I promote you in a leadership role, who's going to do all of that work? Who's going to come in early? Who's going to stay late? Who's going to take on all of the special projects? Who's going to not take vacation so I can take my vacation? You know? Who is going to be the person that does everything that no one else wants to do? So you cannot be promoted to a leader because I need you to do the work. So now you have shown that you are more than capable to do all of the work. So that is what I'm going to let you do. I'm going to dangle a carrot in front of your face and say that if you do this, you can potentially qualify to get a leadership role. And then when the next yearly evaluation comes up, I'm going to move the marker so that you have something else to work towards while you continue to be the worker bee. Every team has to have a worker bee. And so you have shown yourself proven to be the worker bee. And so if you're going to be my worker bee, then I'm going to let you be my worker bee. I cannot elevate the worker bee to be a leader, because if you're the leader, then I don't have a worker bee. And that is something that I am seeing a lot, that a lot of people are getting caught in this worker bee cycle. Very competent, with an amazing skill set, very flexible, very pliable, able to go above and beyond, and has the ability to be a leader, but does not get the opportunity to be a leader because they want you to continue to do the work. So what I would like to posit, as a working professional, be careful how you set the tone, be careful how you present yourself, and be careful how you allow your skill set to be utilized. Because if you put yourself in a position to do all the work, that is what they're going to allow you to do, is all of the work. So if you want to put yourself in a position to be elevated to a leadership role, then you look at what a leader does in that organization. How does a leader move? How does a leader think? And so if you're in a department, you look at the leaders, get a mentor. Find someone that has been a mentor, that has been a leader in that company, and see how they did it. And model your behavior, model your work ethic and your skill set to what a leader does for that organization specifically. Do not overwork yourself, because then you put yourself in a position to be a worker. And if that is not what you want to do, then don't do that. Yes, that is easier said than done, but I'm telling you, if you do not set that boundary, you put yourself on that hamster wheel to be on the worker wheel. Because then when you go to the next department, what the other leaders are going to find out about you is that you will do the work. So that is what they're going to do. They're going to let you do the work. And so now you have a reputation of a person that is a team player that will do all the work, and not a person that has the leadership qualities that can lead in this department. And so when we're thinking about how we want to position ourselves, you have to be strategic. We're going back to having a plan. We're going back to that end of that year review and looking at how is it that we are going to be successful the way that we want to be successful? How is it that we are going to position ourselves to get the role that we want and to get compensated the way that we want? So if we're looking for a leadership role and we're looking for a leadership compensation, then we need to put ourselves in position to lead in the way that aligns with the way that the company sees leadership roles, not in what we think we need to do to be in a leadership role in that company. Those are the two things that I feel that are most important, that are resonating with me right now when I think about my seasoned working professionals. I just want to touch a little bit on looking for a job if you have been working in a field 15, 20 years, and what does that look like? Because that could be a daunting task as well. It is very similar to a young working professional, except for you have more skill sets, you have more experience, and you have a larger network. And so the same thing that I said in my previous podcast with the young working professional is that you make a plan. You only apply for things that you want to do. And then you definitely need to work your network. If you have been working in a field for 15, 20 years, you should have people that you can call on that will give you referrals, that can give you a large network. You should be connected to civic organizations. You should at least have had some board memberships or be connected to some nonprofit organizations that you can say, hey, I'm looking in a new direction. Some things have shifted in my life, and I'm looking to find some employment. There should be some things that should be coming down the pipeline. Don't be afraid to reach out to recruiters. Don't be afraid to reach out and shift your focus on LinkedIn, depending on what your skill set is. A headhunter could be a viable option for you. Really sit down and think, are you willing to relocate? That is something that you probably never would have imagined. But when there is a hostile working environment, think about relocating. That is not something that is unimaginable in this day and age. Remote work, hybrid work, commuting. There's a lot of things. Being bi-coastal. There are plenty of ways to reimagine what the second phase of your career could be for you. Don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Don't be afraid to take a chance, but be organized, be succinct, and be intentional about how you look for the work that you're looking for. The entrepreneurship piece is definitely something that is a buzz for everyone in this day and age. And what I say is, if you're going to do it the right way. Make sure that you're doing something that resonates with you, and you're doing it from an intentional perspective and not something to try to just quote unquote make a lot of money really quick, or it's something that is on trend, or something that is going to make you a quick buck, or something from that perspective. Because if you do that, it's a flash and it may not be sustainable. And then you find yourself trying to revisit it and figure out what your next step is going to be. So if you're going to do it, just make sure that you have a plan. And that is all we have for this episode. Stay tuned, and we will see you in 2 weeks.